Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Monday evening, November 10, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak most of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the weather's been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Taking a look at the Atlantic hurricane and tropical storm activity based on data from 1944 to 2020, we are somewhere right in here, considering that we are on day 10 of November. So somewhere right in here, definitely falling off of the mountain of tropical cyclone activity. So it's only a matter of time before we have nothing else to worry about until next June. So hopefully we don't get any more systems to form during the rest of November, and as you note, we can still get systems to form in December, even in May. It has happened before, even in January, February, March. There have been a few, but you know, it's not hurricane season by then, so we don't have major hurricanes like that to worry about, like Melissa. Taking a look at the tropical and subtropical cyclone points of origin and tracks. This is based on data from 1851 to 2023. All of these yellow dots represent where we've seen a tropical storm, if not a subtropical storm form. And this is based on the time period from November 11 to November 20. So it's definitely timely, considering that today is November 10. And as you can see, the southwestern Caribbean is definitely a hot spot. Right here to the south of Jamaica, we see a lot of yellow dots for this time period. In the southwestern Caribbean, this is definitely a hot spot. The western Caribbean as well. We see 2 of them to the southeast of Jamaica, 1 in the eastern Caribbean, and a few of them to the north and northeast of the Caribbean. Very interesting. We'll see if we have anything to worry about as we wrap up the hurricane season. And even the typical tracks and origins map right here, confirming that it's usually way down in here in the western Caribbean, pushing northward into Cuba, the Bahamas. Almost a similar track to what Melissa did. Let us see if we have anything else to worry about in November. And regarding the sea surface temperature anomalies map, this map just updated on November 9. Today is November 10, so it just came out yesterday. We can see that the La Nina is coming along nicely. We know that La Ninas basically mean it's easier for the thunderstorms to formulate and more tropical depression, tropical storms and hurricanes over this side of the world, and shutting down this side of the world, less storms in general. But there has been some talk that there could be a flip next year. Maybe we get an El Nino, more warmer than average sea surface temperatures over here, and thus causing more rising air over here. And then we have a lot of upper level wind shear tearing the thunderstorms off of clouds over here. But it can be good and it can be bad, in a sense that if we're getting a lot of wind shear in the Atlantic, that would mean that we would have less storms. So that's a good thing. However, we might not get the rainfall that we're supposed to get from some of these tropical waves, because trust me, tropical waves would be struggling to bring forth thunderstorms. We've seen it happen in 2015. 2015 was basically one big droughtful year, considering that we had a huge El Nino here in the eastern to the central Pacific to worry about. And we see that the Atlantic is still very warm right now. A lot of yellows into the oranges. That represents maybe 1 up to 2 degrees Celsius above normal sea surface temperatures. So these systems still have a lot to work with as we wrap up the next 20 days of November. And it's not only about how warm the waters are, the skin of the ocean, but look how warm the waters are in the deeper parts of the Caribbean. We still see they have a lot of warm ocean heat content to work with. This just came out today, showing all of the greens, yellows, oranges, reds, especially across the Western Caribbean into the Yucatan, Northwestern Caribbean, right here in and around Central America. And we can definitely make out where Melissa crossed over just to the south of Jamaica. Definitely see a slight cool wake down in there, for sure, to indicate that the waters have definitely been churned up. But we still have a lot of warm water to work with. Let us see how the rest of hurricane season goes. Taking a look at this post here, this is an expert. We're looking at some expert insight here. This is Eric Webb. He's actually a global meteorologist, part of the Weather Industrial Complex. And from time to time, he makes some very accurate posts about what's happening across the Atlantic. And he made a post here today stating new C3S climate model ensemble mean is out and shows El Nino developing in April. This makes sense to me. And we just spoke about it. El Nino, as you know, has to do with the very warm sea surface temperatures across the eastern to the central Pacific. Right over here, that's causing more rising air, more clouds, showers, and thunderstorms forming in that part of the world. And this would result in more upper level wind shear in the Atlantic, definitely causing less storms, less hurricanes, and sometimes even less tropical waves. More drought than anything else. We don't want a drought. We'll take the tropical waves, not necessarily the hurricanes, but boy, it doesn't look good at all for those persons who love rain or persons who depend on rain. All of us do depend on rain, because if we don't get the rainfall in our wherever it's supposed to go, so that we can get water in our pipes, and then we're in trouble. But hopefully we get some rainfall from the tropical waves, the few that are expected to pass through. And I doubt that there are going to be a lot of storms like what we had this year, if we actually get an El Nino next year. And he also highlighted a map right here showing the rainfall forecast for April. We're seeing some greens into the eastern to the central Pacific, a lot of rising air, a lot of moisture. Don't really see much across the Caribbean. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, but take these forecasts a grain of salt. It's a long range climate model. It is showing El Nino right now, but who knows, it might just be neutral, if not La Nina next year. Anything can play, given that it is so far out. Taking a look at the U.S. National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook that just came out at 6:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 6:13 p.m. Jamaica time. Tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days, and this is the reason why the Atlantic doesn't really have much of anything for us to worry about. A frontal system right here off the east coast of the U.S. extending down into Central America. We see a lot of clouds, showers, and thunderstorms down in here across the Western Caribbean and the Southwestern Caribbean near Jamaica. Lots of moisture, definitely influenced by that frontal system of the east coast of the United States. And if we take a look at the next name on the list, if something should form after Melissa, you know that the next name is Nestor. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, you can see the blue spike line right here off the east coast of the US associated with that frontal system, which extends down into portions of the northwestern Caribbean. A trough also attached to that right there. There's also another trough right here to the north of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And we see a ridge of high pressure right here to the north. That one is responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main Devoma region into the Caribbean. And with these easterly trade winds, we have some low to mid-level clouds with some isolated showers. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost sunlight, we can make out the clouds, showers, and thunderstorms associated with that trough to the north of Hispaniola, the clouds associated with that frontal system, and the trough attached to it, extending from the waters of the northern portion of North Atlantic off the east coast of the US down into portions of Central America. And this frontal system is pushing eastward, so we're going to be affected by the rainfall associated with it. And we can also see the low to mid-level clouds being steered from east-west across the Caribbean, all courtesy of that ridge of high pressure to the north. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean to the later on. Let us focus your attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Monday, November 10, 2025. It was stated that rainfall could have been in the forecast for parts of some eastern parishes in Jamaica on Monday morning, also affecting sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes during Monday afternoon. And we know eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew. Central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? At around 8:21 a.m., the visible satellite images were posted not only here on our Twitter page over the Jamaica, but it was also posted on our Instagram page over the Jamaica, on our TikTok page over the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page over the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you cannot afford to miss. So we can see the clouds bring some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers to sections of the east. Definitely more so Portland and St. Mary than anything else at that time. Then by afternoon, we saw the clouds bring some isolated thunder showers to sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes. But it was more so eastern, northern, and western parishes than anything else. Definitely some clouds bring some rainfall to sections of St. Thomas, Portland, sections of St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney, sections of St. James, northern St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover definitely got on some of the action. And even the infrared satellite imagery was posted at around 4:25 p.m. highlighting the blues into the greens into the yellows, oranges, and reds that represents the cumulonimbus cloud cover, and the sparkling white dots that we know represents some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. So we definitely have some thunderstorm activity across sections of especially central and the western parishes for sure. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the island before we lost sunlight, we can make out the clouds across the central and western ends of the island for sure, to indicate that we definitely got in on some amount of rainfall, upper level winds blowing those cloud tops off towards the northeast, just as we stated it would in yesterday's video. The infrared right here confirming the thunderstorms, and we even had some quick thunderstorms in the evening hours across section of St. James, some deep convection as well across northwestern St. Elizabeth into eastern Westmoreland. They definitely got nailed with some thunderstorms. Boy, these very areas where people were badly affected by Melissa are getting crazy thunderstorms. And can you imagine being in thunderstorms and not having shelter? And we're talking about thunderstorms with lightning, all of these sparkling white dots we know represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. And boy, I don't know how I would react if I was over there, if I were over there, because the lightning is, it's dangerous, and I'm afraid of it. Almost similar to how we have a lot of people out there who are afraid of lizards and so on. I am afraid of lightning. Alright, so let us continue regarding the live camera here from C Jamaica's YouTube channel. This was at around 2:47 p.m. in the Devon House intersection area. As you can see, it was looking partly cloudy at that time, but nothing in the way of bad weather taking place at all. People driving about, going about their business, people walking about, going about their business. Nothing in the way of bad weather at all. And if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit C Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams all for you all to view for free. So subscribe today to this channel so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website. This map almost paints quite the picture of where we had that rainfall today across especially eastern, central, and western parishes, with the brunt of it on the north coast. And we have a few comments from some of our followers about what the weather is like in their area today. We have Red and Dread stating dry and sunny at the moment, Stony Hill Hermitage Dam area. We also have, well, that was posted this morning. That was 11 hours ago, 8:28 a.m. to be exact. Definitely made that post on the morning one about the rainfall out east. We have Yugita Cooper 11:33 posting 8 hours ago. Marvelous, miracle, merciful Monday morning, everyone. Sunny and bright here now in Manor Park, St. Andrew. Thank you for confirming. Even on our Facebook page, we had a few comments that came in. Maxine Reed posting 3 hours ago. It's raining here in Aberdeen, St. Elizabeth. Thank you for confirming. We also have Nelly Temoy sitting rain de wemide, even though them take way off of the map. That was posted 4 hours ago. And we have at least 2 comments that came in here on our Instagram page. Kim Sue stating overcast in Christiana, was sunny about 10 minutes ago though. And we have Queen of the Pack _November_9 sitting partly cloudy in her area. Thank you all for confirming what the weather is like in your area for today. Alright, so let us reload the very latest still image here from the Weather Nerds website. Let us reload the very latest Jamaican Doppler radar imagery, the latest Cuban Doppler radar imagery, the latest Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar, and the latest Cayman radar imagery. You want to see exactly what's taking place right now. Alright, so what's taking place right now is this. Given that this map is showing 0015 UTC, which is actually 7:15 p.m. So this just came out 16 minutes ago, considering that it is 11:31 p.m. right now. And as you can see, just some leftover clouds, upper level wind shear that blew the cloud tops up towards the northeast across the western end. We're seeing some isolated thunderstorms to the north of St. Anne, to the north of Hanover, to the west of St. James. Some thunderstorms right here to the southwest. We actually have rainfall underneath these bands. Well, the Jamaican Doppler radar looks like it actually was working earlier today, where we saw some rain bands across central and western parishes. But what's happening right now doesn't seem like it's working at all. It is showing 2056Z, which is actually about 3:56 Jamaica time. So I guess it glitched out, but that's expected. Still having some glitches here and there. The Cuban Doppler radar is what we have to depend on. It is showing 7:20 p.m. So it's up to date. It is showing the rain bands right here to the west of us. We're also seeing some rain bands right here dotting the north coast, so Portland, section of St. Mary, St. Anne, sections of St. James into Hanover. Definitely getting on some moderate to heavy rainfall as we speak, especially out to sea as these rain bands push off towards the west. Regarding the Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar, it is also echoing what we just saw on the Cuban Doppler radar. Some rain bands in the blues into the greens represent some light to moderate rainfall out to sea, especially brushing the coasts of Portland and St. Mary. Regarding the Cayman radar, we can make out some rainfall right here in the blues and the greens that were affecting section of western Jamaica earlier, so to section of St. James into Hanover, and most of that has been pushed out towards the west, but we can make out some moderate heavy rainfall just to the west of Grand Cayman right here to the southwest of there as we speak. And if we take a look at what's happening right now, the live camera from See Jamaica's YouTube channel showing downtown Kingston, and as you can see, we have people walking about, going about their business, people in their vehicles going about their business. Nothing to have bad weather taking place right now in the downtown Kingston area, and that should be the order of the evening into the night. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we're 26 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Tuesday, temperature should dip down to about 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 24 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow. This map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Tuesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Tuesday. And we can see Jamaica right here embedded in some grays and some slight yellows. That represents average to at least 1 degree Celsius above average temperatures. And look behind the cold front, a lot of cooler than average temperatures right in here. This is where the cold front is expected to be tomorrow, so we're going to be getting on some moisture from it. But are we going to be getting on the cool air? I don't think so, because the ridge of high pressure is going to be sending all of the warm air back into the Western Caribbean, unfortunately. So all of this cool air that should be affecting the Bahamas, the Eastern US, the Gulf, into Central America tomorrow, not going to be making it into the Jamaica area at all, unfortunately. Only the average to at least 1 degree Celsius above average temperature is expected tomorrow. And we know the average temperature for the month of November across Jamaica is around 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And when that's converted to degrees Celsius that we use here in Jamaica, that's around 31.1 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 31.1 to 32.1 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Tuesday. And we don't see any maintenance outage advisories here from my JPS online Twitter page that we have to highlight. And we're grateful for that, because you know that when we have power outages somewhere across the island, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. But you know that there are still a lot of places that are still without power, so they're gonna be feeling the heat. They made a post today saying Falmouth, the damage is extensive with poles still underwater, creating major safety challenges. Our crews have been on the ground working. Our priority now is restoring your critical services. We're actively working to get power back to the hospital, NWC pumps, and the pier. And there they are, hard at work. Hopefully they get the job done so that the people who need the electricity can get the electricity back as soon as possible. And if tomorrow is going to be a bit too hot for you, it states here, seek shade when you're outside. Eat fresh, try eating cold food such as salads and fruit. Rest, make sure you get enough sleep and rest if you're feeling tired. Soak, take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated throughout the day. Drink lots of water even if you're not thirsty, and put away those sugary drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites in those areas. And we see a lot of dry air extending from Africa across the main development region into the eastern Caribbean. A lot of dry air off the east coast of the US into the Gulf. And we see a lot of moist air too across the Western Caribbean, Central America, the Central to the Southwestern Caribbean, this is the Bahamas. And we wish we have more dry air so that we get, less rainfall, especially for those persons who are still without roofs out west. It looks like we're going to be in for some amount of moist air and rainfall over the next couple of days. And if we take a look at the Saharan dust forecast for the next 3 days, so we're heading into November 11, November 12, and November 13. And as you can see here, no Saharan dust to worry about. We know that Saharan dust is represented by the greens, yellows, oranges, reds, and pinks, and we don't see any of that to worry about at all. No Saharan dust in the area, so we're grateful, because you know that the Saharan dust can definitely cause hazy skies, not to mention trigger respiratory illnesses in some persons. So we're happy that this is the forecast for the next 3 days. Regarding the wave forecast for tomorrow, clearly the winds brought about by the cold front definitely going to be churning up the seas off the Florida coast, in and around the Bahamas, Cuba into the Gulf, and the northwestern Caribbean, where we're seeing the purples into the pinks into the burgundies that represent anywhere from 2, maybe up to 3, maybe 4 meter wave heights. Water to the south of Jamaica looks like it's 2 to 2.5 meter wave heights. And that's because of the winds. We see strong northerly, if not northeasterly winds pushing through the Bahamas into Cuba into the northwestern Caribbean. Jamaica going to be getting on some of that, but not with those wind speeds at all. We see an easterly flow across the majority of the Caribbean, though averaging anywhere from 10 to 15 up to 20, maybe up to 25 knots. But if we zoom in on Jamaica, regarding our wave forecast, to the north of Portland tomorrow, 1.2 meter wave height. To the north of St. Anne, 0.7 of a meter wave height expected. To the north of Hanover, 1 meter wave height expected. To the south of Westmoreland, 0.8 of a meter wave height expected. To the south of Clarendon, 0.8 of a meter wave height expected. And to the south of St. Thomas, 1.5 meter wave height expected. And that is because of the winds that are expected tomorrow. We see more of a northeasterly flow of the winds, averaging up to at least 9 knots right here to the north of Portland, 11 knots to the north of St. Anne, to the north of Hanover, 17 knots. And we see that the air is expected to pile up across the south coast. That is where we could have some of these low-level clouds becoming mid-level rain clouds. And whatever comes off of the sea from the northeast definitely could bring some rainfall to some northern parishes. So maybe sections of Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland could get on some rainfall, especially in the morning hours. And the upper level winds are coming in from the southwest, and we've already seen that in the infrared. I mean, look at the infrared right here, showing those cloud tops. A lot of moisture across Central America. Look at those cloud tops being sheared out towards the northeast. Something similar to that is coming in tomorrow. And if we take a look at the actual rainfall forecast, this map from the GFS and this map from the Euro are both valid for 10 a.m. on Tuesday, and we're seeing the blues represent rainfall across the northern parishes, especially the northeast. So anywhere from Hanover, Eastern, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland could get on some morning rainfall. And then by afternoon, this is about 3 p.m. Both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement that the North Coast should still be getting in on some rainfall. Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. And the Euro is trying to bring some of that rainfall in the southwest, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon. Don't really see that on the GFS, but we know that it's definitely possible, given that the 3 p.m. time period is the daytime heating time period. And even by 9 p.m., we're still seeing rainfall across the northeast. Maybe St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, maybe even spilling into sections of St. Thomas. Even Trelawney and St. James on the GFS being highlighted. We'll see it actually plays out, and whatever happens, I will definitely be here to keep you posted if thought occurs. Regarding the total accumulated precipitation for the next 24 hours, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Tuesday, and we can see the rainfall that's expected within the next 24 hours. All of the greens, yellows, oranges right here going up to at least 0.43 of an inch of rainfall in the St. Mary area. That's the total that we see on the Euro. GFS going up to at least 0.55 of an inch of rainfall in the Hanover area. We'll see it actually plays out, and whatever happens, we just have to take it. We're in the month of November, and in Manchester, we usually receive around 90 millimeters of rainfall this month. That's about the same as 3.6 inches of rainfall. While in Trelawney, we usually receive 119 millimeters of rainfall this month. That is about the same as 4.7 inches of rainfall. And if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of November or for the entire year, you can visit nomadseason.com and that website to show you that information. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us, according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go out to the next 168 hours. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as well, as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. We just looked at Tuesday's forecast, so now it's time to look at Wednesday, and we're going all the way back to next week, Monday. And as you can see, 7 a.m. on Wednesday, 12Z, we know it's 7 a.m. We're still seeing rainfall across the northern and eastern parts of the island, given that northeasterly flow brought about by that frontal system. Then on Wednesday afternoon, we're still seeing rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the GFS show? Wednesday morning, northeastern parishes. Wednesday afternoon, rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What do we see on Thursday morning? Thursday morning, rainfall across some northern and eastern parishes on the Euro. Thursday afternoon, rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What do we see on Thursday morning on the GFS? Northeastern parishes with that rainfall again. Thursday afternoon, rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What do we see on Friday morning on the Euro? Rainfall across the north coast. Then on Friday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes. What does the GFS show? Friday morning, rainfall across the northern and northeastern parts of the island. Then on Friday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across some central and western parishes. What do we see on Saturday morning? On Saturday morning, we're seeing some moisture to the north of us, to the east of us. Then on Saturday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes on the Euro. What does the GFS show? Saturday morning, not really much of anything. Saturday afternoon, rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes on the GFS. Interesting for Saturday afternoon on both the Euro and the GFS. What do we see on Sunday morning? On Sunday morning, we're seeing some isolated showers across the far eastern end of the island. Then on Sunday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes. And we're stopping right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Monday, November 17. Don't really see much of anything across Jamaica area. And we don't see much of anything across the entire Atlantic. That's good. What does the GFS show for Sunday into Monday? Sunday morning, rainfall across the northern and northeastern parishes. Then Sunday afternoon, rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. And just like on the Euro, we're stopping it at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Monday, November 17. We're seeing rainfall across the northeast. Interesting that we don't see anything on the Euro spinning, but the GFS, we see something spinning right here to the northwest of Colombia, something spinning right here to the south of El Salvador. But don't worry about that. The GFS was showing something spinning east of Nicaragua for this time period. For by today, we would have seen something spinning right here to the east of Nicaragua, but as you can see, that's not happening. Just a lot of moisture down in here affecting portions of Central America. Nothing organized, nothing tropical, storm or depression-ish or hurricane-ish to worry about at this time. So the GFS can definitely get this wrong, so don't worry about these little isobars of spin and the rainfall, especially considering that the Euro isn't showing much of anything. Regarding the total accumulated precipitation for the next 7 days, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Monday, November 17. And not much change at all. The brunt of the rainfall should be across Central America. That's where we see the dark reds into the purples, into the pinks. And that represents anywhere, into the purples, into the pinks, into the peaches, into the blues. That represents anywhere from 2 all the way up to maybe 10, maybe 12 inches of rainfall. Let me use black. So all of this right here into Central America, they're gonna be getting on some flash flooding for sure in these spots. Some of this rainfall into the Bahamas, eastern Cuba, northeastern Jamaica could get in on some of the action as well. And we see that it's not only the Euro that's showing this, but the GFS is showing something similar. So the chances are higher for take place. But we see that the rest of the basin shaded in the green, yellows, oranges, and reds. That's up to 1 inch of rainfall or less for the most part. And if we zoom in on Jamaica regarding rainfall forecast from now up until Monday, November 17, We're seeing Jamaica shaded on the blues, into the greens, into the yellows. That represents anywhere from 10 millimeters of rainfall all the way up to 30 millimeters of rainfall, especially across the northeastern end of the island. The GFS showing something similar with the rainfall totals, but getting up into the oranges, maybe 50 to 60 millimeters of rainfall. We see an 84 millimeters right there on the Euro to the north of Portland. We'll see if this actually plays out. Whatever happens, I will definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs if God spares life. Taking a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic. So as stated, we have some low to mid-level clouds pushing through the Caribbean associated with what the high pressure ridge is sending through. Some of these clouds definitely have some moisture within them. A lot of moisture currently across sections of Central America. They're definitely going to be getting on some flooding for sure. It has already begun. So don't be surprised if we pull up some videos from Volcaholic or Weather Monitor and they're flooding out down there in Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. They're gonna be getting it, and it has already begun with the amount of moisture that we're seeing down there. I mean, look at the deep convection down there, and it's just gonna be getting worse over the next 3 days. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar imagery, let us go down near Puerto Rico. What's taking place down here? Not much of anything. Some moisture right here in and around Antigua and Barbuda near Guadeloupe. Some moisture to the south of Puerto Rico. Regarding the Barbados radar, some rainfall passing from east-west to the north of Barbados, pushing towards Martinique. Some rainfall in and around St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Trinidad and Tobago getting in on their fair share of moisture. Regarding the wider view of Doppler radar images, you can see some moisture, a lot of it across the Yucatan into Guatemala, Belize. We're also seeing a lot of that moisture into sections of Honduras. Oh, what a glitch. Is it working? I think it reloaded. Okay, there we go. So Guatemala, Honduras, some rainfall right here to the east of Nicaragua, some rainfall into northeastern Venezuela, Colombia getting on some of the action as well. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, I mean, this is a 24-hour rainfall total. And look at the amount of rainfall. We're talking about anywhere from 6 maybe up to 10 inches of rainfall for portions of southeastern Belize into Honduras. That's some ridiculous rainfall totals for sure. They're gonna be getting on some flooding, so don't be surprised if you see some footage tomorrow or the day after from the usual weather pages showing flooding down in those countries. While other areas that are shaded in the green, yellows, oranges, and red should be getting on an inch or less of rainfall. We're talking about the Bahamas, section of central to eastern Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, section of northern Haiti and the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, section of Guadeloupe, so to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, sections of the Yucatan for sure. And we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS mods are in agreement with that. You know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances are higher for it to actually take place. Taking a look at what's happening here on the eastern Pacific side of things, as you can see, tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days, and this is the reason why not much of anything trying to get organized here near Mexico or to the east of Hawaii. A lot of frontal systems, a lot of upper level wind shear, nothing organized at this time. And we know that if something should form, the next name on the list is Sonia. Regarding what's happening on the Indian Ocean side of things, nothing to worry about, but the Western Pacific, we're still watching Typhoon Fangwang, which has now pushed off to the west of the Philippines. As you can see here, a lot of deep convection right here. And if you remember the track, it's expected to push out to the northeast and affect Taiwan. And let us see. Definitely still looking quite formidable. A lot of clouds, showers and thunderstorms there. As you can see here, it is now packing 65 knot winds. You know that systems that pack anywhere from 65 to 83 knot winds are classified as category 1 hurricanes. In this part of the world, they call them typhoons. Expected to push northward, then towards the northeast. And we spoke about this yesterday. Remember yesterday? The map was bringing it somewhere like this. And now it has shifted. We spoke about the fact that it could definitely shift down. So take this work as a grain of salt, especially with how wide the cone of uncertainty is. Any game can be played here. But as you can see, it's expected to maintain that tropical storm status 55, 50, 35, 30 knot winds. So you know you're talking about tropical storm status anywhere from 34 to 64 knots or tropical storm status. It definitely could weaken, but who knows, it might just overachieve just like this typhoon did. Remember, it was forecast to be just a Cat 3, but it became a Cat 4 super typhoon before it made landfall, and as such we still have footage coming out. This is Volcaholic's Twitter page. They stated this was the island of Catanduanes in the Philippines during Super Typhoon Fangwang. From all the footage I've seen, I'd say they came off the worst. Fingers crossed this is the last typhoon of the season. They had enough. And here we have the video footage. Let us see what it entails. Okay, all right, there we have it. Lots of footage, heavy blinding rainfall, flooding, storm surge, you name it. This is what these systems do in general, and I'm sure we're going to be having more footage coming out regarding whatever it does, if it pushes into Taiwan or affects China, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with whatever occurs. All right, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.